away from Inori.
Yeah, we saw Inori have 3 Ivern bans against him in all 3 games that Phoenix1 played, and now we're having another blue side Ivern ban against Inori. It seems like it's becoming one of his best champions and that people really want to take that away from him.
And we did see LirA on the Ivern, so of course can play it, but it's just not a champion you associate with an aggressive player like LirA all that often. So
yeah, he did play it.
Oh, he played it.
And it wasn't that great, but mostly because I wouldn't say that LirA played it poorly. I would say that LirA's style of being aggressive is something that is necessary for Envy to get to that early game because they don't have the strongest of laners, they don't have the strongest of team fighting or even compositions. They need LirA to be the catalyst for them actually having a chance to win these games.
Yeah, and it's funny, you know, you can still see the tendencies in those players. We saw Dardock's Ivern, which did look pretty good, but even he went in and tried to go full Lee Sin mode, which of course doesn't work too much on Tree Sin. LeBlanc there banned for Team Envy. Zach and Canning will join the roster there for P1, or at least not join the roster this time, as those are our first 6 bans, and there's Karma, first pick for Team Envy. So sticking with the simple stuff here, it's pick 1.
Yeah, Karma being picked up there. Would expect something like Zyra for Hakuho, personally, but I do think that having one of those shoving lane supports is really good to have against Phoenix1, because if they can free up Arrow or Shady, then it is a bit of a problem for the whole map.
Seen it flex a few times already in the NA LCS this weekend, so that option as well for Pirean. There's Varus taken by Phoenix1, so this is a bot laner to me that's risen immensely in popularity. Ashe seems to have dropped off a little bit. Yes, there are other things you can be doing in the bot lane, but Varus seems to be a lot of the go-to pick for a lot of players now. And Arrow, I know he's been spamming it in solo queue.
Yeah, Varus, really good champion now that we've actually kind of moved him away from lethality builds and more towards attack speed crit. But I do think that Arrow on this champion, he had a really good performance on it in their first match, hitting the Chain of Corruption consistently. So that's what we're looking out for here. It looks like Phoenix1 going for a little bit more pick overall with Elise for Inori.
I mean, we joke about his namesake, but I mean, Arrow has been an incredible Varus and Ashe player pretty much his entire career, so I'd certainly like to pick here for him. Elise, like you mentioned, nice aggressive jungler for Inori, and LirA going to answer with another aggressive AP jungler of his own, Nidalee. Actually going to make an appearance here. And Apollo will be taking the Ashe. So again, haven't seen as much of it, but Ashe will be picked up here for Envy in their first phase. Well, we'll see what happens here for Ryu now. 10 seconds left for P1 to kind of finish this phase of the draft, and might want to match the ports, kind of take that away. You mentioned the Zyra already, Zirene, that is available. Something like Lulu could be picked, although she has been dropping off in popularity a pretty significant amount, as it does look like the Zyra is going to be that first pick here for Phoenix1. So moving into ban phase number 2 in just a moment.
Shady. Shady does love those aggressive supports as well. He's known for his brand as Vel'Koz and solo queue. So excited to see this bottom lane, because now they talked about on the desk about playmaking is coming back a little bit. Both of them going for wave clear, shoving supports, kind of going back to what we had seen in spring.
And we've definitely seen a lot of Zyra plus X create some really devastating bottom lane, so I do like that look for Phoenix1. Jace actually banned away here, so kind of an interesting pick to take here. I mean, I think Seraph would happily play it. He loves his carry top laners, but of course Pirean could flex it towards it as well. So bit of a target there for P1, and same on the Envy side. They'll actually take Syndra away from Ryu, a man with many, many good champions.
Yes, Ahri comes to mind. Also the LeBlanc, which was banned away from him, so he's pulling some bans here. But the Jace towards Seraph, it's so interesting when I think about Seraph's champion pool, because he plays things that were always a little bit out of the meta. The guy used to play a whole bunch of top lane Nidalee, but the Jace also seems like something that a lot of teams just don't want to play against. In scrims, Seraph can just smash a lane because everybody's being aggressive, but it doesn't always translate to stage. So when he plays those lane bullies, people become afraid of them on stage, and they just don't want to play against them. But his champion pool overall has been a little bit shallow in what we've seen him be successful on, right? It's the whole concept of, even though you play the champion in competitive, doesn't mean you have full mastery of the champion. And that kind of strikes me as how Seraph plays when he's not on one of those big carries.
Yep, you can see Renekton also fitting the bill there as far as aggressive top lane bullies go. Gangplank actually the other van, that's a nod to Zig and his very good top lane play.
Yeah, also could possibly mean that they want to go for a Shen pickup here for Seraph. It's something that he played the other day, and it was quite good for him, and the Gangplank would be a counter, and it's also something that Zig is very good at as well, like you said.
There's J4. Looks like top lane there for Zig with Elise already locked in, unless some just real shenanigans are going to be happening. And this is a pick we've started to see rise up a lot in popularity. People are moving away from a lot of the tanks. Nautilus doesn't seem to have as much fun. Shen you can play, but he's not great in lane. a lot of the time, it feels like. So we've seen a lot more Fiora. Galio obviously still a very strong pick, but the likes of Jarvan and more of these fighter top laners as well.
Yeah, the Bruiser, he's kind of that mix where he can actually have all-in potential on squishy champions, and he's quite good when you pair him with an Orianna, which is still up, which could possibly be the pick for Ryu in the mid lane here to have that combo. And the Taaliyah kind of getting it a little, kind of like heading it off a little bit, because Taaliyah is quite a good champion into Orianna. But also, once again, Pirean's Taaliyah helps them end the game by walling off turrets and allowing Envy to push up.
Yeah, and I think Shen kind of serves a similar purpose. That is the last pick. Good look there for Envy, and a great little spot by you. With that Gangplank being banned, that does open up Shen to kind of be picked away here. Global presence is good. Like you said, Seraph is such an aggressive, kind of laning focused top laner in my mind. Shen used to be a tank that could really bully people on lanes. Doesn't happen as much anymore, but this is kind of the tank that Seraph feels willing to play.
Yeah.
To me, he's like, pick Ellie, pick Ellie. I was like, I don't want to play Ellie. It's like, ah, okay, you can have Shen instead.
Yeah, Shen's actually really interesting because he's very powerful in just even skirmishes, just 1v1. He can actually take most champions to like 50% HP with a taunt E and the triple hit from it, and you can't really return damage if you're an auto attacker. So he'll actually have a good chance of killing / bullying some other bruisers or top lane tanks, or even things like Rumble every now and then. But he does kind of take the loss in the lane in terms of wave clear.
Well, you can see last pick was Orianna, so another good prediction there by the prophet himself, Zirene.
Yours truly, yeah. Wouldn't have predicted the Nidalee, though, for LirA. And I do want to see, is this that AD Nidalee again? Is that this Fervor
right.
Nidalee? Or is this the AP Nidalee? Back to the roots.
I had almost forgotten about that special day, but you're right. LirA, very unique player. Very good player, certainly. Absolutely incredible as far as his aggression goes. So Nidalee is going to enable him there with Elise in ban and Elise both taken away. You can see kind of some targeting by P1 in the draft. Interesting. I think Envy, a lot of the tools we expected them to take here, very simple, very straightforward team comp.
Yeah, I like this a lot more from them. Before, it was kind of, oh, where's this damage going to come from? Where's this tankiness going to come from? What's the win condition here? Early jungler for LirA. They have Seraph on something that can teleport and use a global to get there. And then they have Pirean on a control mage. I think this is a great suit for them, whereas Hakuho also on a mage support, and Apollo on something that can play back but start fights. So I feel like Envy, well-rounded here, and have pretty much everything you'd want in just a standard team composition.
On the other side, though, I think for Phoenix1, this is kind of, I'm going to say kind of new school standard stuff that we've been seeing. A lot more Jarvan have been coming up. People are going back to Elise, who received a lot of bans actually early on in the weekend. A lot of these champions are ones we've seen before, but I think for Phoenix1, they're playing a lot of the current stuff that's working well in pro play.
Yeah, and that's what you want to do, is take a step back, because Phoenix1, they got off to that rough start, and you really just need to go back to the drawing board. Reuse Orianna, we know, as a great quality for him, something you can really just be like, oh man, that's a great champion for Ryu. We've seen his 4-man shockwaves, his team fighting prowess, and they can go back to that now. They have the Zyra that can ulti on top of the Jarvan ulti. They have the Orianna that can do the same, and then Arrow can really get a part of those skirmishes and have the chain of corruption spread to others. So P1, a little bit more team fighting suit for them, but they also have pretty much everything you would want across the board. Pretty mirrored here in terms of what each role wants to do between the two teams, and it'll come down to who has the better suit for it.
Oh, bit of extra XP for Envy, actually taking a ward down. Managed to spot it in time there. Shady was trying to set up plants, so a nice 3-man invade there for Envy onto that bottom side, although Ryu is going to have some freedom to walk in and face check. Pirean going to get some damage down. Ooh. Volley going to miss there onto Ryu. And looks like LirA's just going to kick him out of the jungle.
Yeah, looks like LirA does have Thunderlords and some AP. Yeah, it was just the big tell last time. It was like, he has Fervor, and he has no AP. I wonder if that's a mistake. Definitely wasn't a mistake before, but he's going back to AP. He has played this as well after he played the AD one. So, you know, got excited one time, but not again. Yeah,
going to be fun to watch both LirA and Inori kind of play a little more to their tendencies. I think LirA almost always aggressive. Inori has shown some balance as he's kind of grown as a player in the LCS. But
yeah.
Certainly prefers to be aggressive, and another face check. Seen a lot of this from top lanes, trying to get vision in, but great positioning from Zig to make sure he doesn't get a look in on the Raptors, which is where Inori is starting.
Exactly. You want to get a look in on the Raptors, walk up, potentially steal one, and we've seen teams kind of adapt to that. But look at that, Inori actually does not get level 2 off of the Raptors there. Seems like one of them went over to a laner there.
Might have gone to Ryu. Had to double check exactly where it went. They were, in the meantime, already fast cleared the Raptors, had a ton of traps down early, and now with this Smite should be able to take this red.
Yeah, one did go over to Ryu, which means he'll hit level 2 in the lane. And a little bit sooner because he would get it off of 6 creeps instead of 7, but actually Pirean shoved him up so much they both hit level 2 at the same time.
Yeah, also had a tiny bit of ward experience, I think, for Pirean as well, so pretty even there as LirA's going to zip over into P1's blue side of the jungle. Scuttle Crab could be the first target, but he looks like he's running straight to the blue, actually. Pirean even going to join him nice and early.
Yeah, it's a nice priority there from the mid lane from Taaliyah. Inori kiting it up to the top side so he has a way out, and LirA, we'll see if he takes this fast enough because the bottom lane also shoved out, and you can see Hakuho. Hakuho has done this all 3 games in the previous series, and this is his 4th time in a row, shoving and trying to roam, whether it's helping his jungler take the Scuttle Crab or even invade like this, and that is just a fast invade, and Inori caught off guard there. He did ward over to kind of make sure because he saw the Karma leave, but he's going to be out of a blue.
Yeah, great steal there for Envy, and again, like you mentioned, Hakuho leaving that lane, teaming up with his teammates, and LirA's aggression with a lot of help actually from his team, able to get a 3-buff start here versus Inori. In the meantime, Apollo just chilling out, pushing these waves back after Hakuho left the lane, but so far so good, and we've seen this so often from Envy, and they do have a lot of good early game starts, and they seem to have some good preparation as well.
Yeah, able to push out and go back and forth, and I definitely think this bottom lane is quite interesting here between the two, because we have that MVP Arrow versus Apollo, who's kind of been just we call him a standard AD carry where he doesn't really shine too much, but towards the end of the split, they ran some compositions that were Apollo-centric, and there were chances for him to step up. I think back to like the very last game of the spring split, as this like 60-plus minute long game. Apollo had a chance to carry that one. Really, I want to see him go further. Wasn't able to do it then, but if he can start carrying some games, they'll have another threat from the bottom side of the map. But he's kind of just been the stabilizer of the team.
I think for a lot of Envy, that story actually holds true. I mean, with the exception of LirA, their obvious standout player, this is a team that really does have all the pieces, but needs, again, a little more consistency. Even someone like Seraph, I think, for me, is someone I'd like to see play more than just lane bullies and try and win through lane. If he can expand that champion pool, play more of the standard tanks, for example, I think this team's in a really good spot as LirA, again, looking for Ryu, but not quite there with the spear. I think a little minion might have blocked that one.
That was actually interesting because you saw the indicator on top of Ryu's head show that he did get hit by the spear. It just didn't do a lot of damage.
Might have shielded as well. Very tough one, but
yeah,
they were deciding, you know what, didn't do too much, not going to die.
Exactly. It was like, it looked like he missed it because you didn't even hear the sound really, because he might have shielded it at exactly the same time too.
Well, Zig actually going to TP back to top lane, so double longsword plus that corrupting potion and an early control means he's feeling safe. Haven't talked about it too much. We have 3 Doran shields in this game, 2 in the bottom lane, and of course Seraph has one as well. Just trading back here with the Jarvan, actually really abusing a lot of Shen's early lane power here. Able to trade nicely with Zig.
Yeah, you just try to get everybody's potions out. You just taunt through them, and then you get the pass-through damage of your Q, and just swing away. And you'll take people to like half HP off of doing that once, and then they have to play safe because then you have kill potential. So Shen is actually not that weak in a duel at all. Just takes him like 25 seconds to actually do it. It's around like 2 to 3 rotations of your E.
Well, looks like he's going back early. Ninja Tabi and a TP for Seraph, so really putting, again, a lot of stats early in the lane. Root onto Apollo, though, as Arrow leaps into action. Hakuho can zone him off there with the root of his own, and now Shady's still firing. Auto attacks in towards Apollo. Hakuho trying to kite back, but he's so right now.
Yeah, the whole bottom lane is right now for Envy, whereas P1 have the pressure. And Shady and Arrow, despite P1 actually losing their previous match, they actually had some pretty good games. There were some level 2 all-ins that actually worked out for them. They got a whole bunch of summoner spells early. The bottom lane seems to be more aggressive. Arrow was kind of the guy that would show up mid-game, late game, and P1 have Shady now, who's a little more aggressive in lane with even just his champion picks. So P1 are kind of moving towards trying to unlock that bottom lane earlier than they were before.
Well, a misstep there from there. Actually didn't make the pounce over the wall, but maybe better actually, given that Ryu's chasing him down. Good flash of the shockwave. Ryu did commit, goes to catch up, but LirA has to burn his summoner as well. For Arrow escaping through the Drake pit, also was being chased by Hakuho.
Take a lot of damage here.
Yeah, does burst him down, but some honey fruit to collect, and Arrow not feeling too bad about it. At least doesn't get himself killed.
Another slow. Yeah, Ocean Drake slow feels so bad. If you're caught around an Ocean Drake, that's that moment where you go, oh my god, why is this slowing me? It hurts so bad, and you take so much damage early. But it kind of hurts him a decent amount in the lane, but his lane opponents are going to be backing right now, so it's not going to be too much more worse for wear on that.
Yep, Pirean actually shoving that lane in, going to go back. Ryu's done the same already. Got some early boots, a refill, and a lost chapter, so you're going to build the early Morellonomicon. I'm almost certain Pirean is going to be doing similar things, although it actually changes up quite a lot. Null Magic, Fiendish, and a second Doran, so again, much heavier investment in that early lane phase.
Yeah, possibly Banshee's Veil first item for him. interesting that he would pick that up. Banshee's Veil against Orianna is not the most effective thing, because you'll usually get the Q pass through before you get the Orianna ultimate off. But if it's right at the edge, it does make it so he has to kind of walk up. But it is the kind of the replacement for the Abyssal Scepter of old, where people wanted early magic resistance in lane, and this will do it for you.
So in a lot of Taaliah's when it was the old Abyssal Scepter before it became Abyssal Mask, I suppose.
Yeah.
Rushing Abyssal is their first item, so could certainly see that. Zig and Seraph still trading back and forth, but Seraph again just constantly shoving this lane. Zig actually now has a teammate, Seraph does not, but you can see how much work the early skills for Shen, Doran's plus and Ninja Tabi are doing. He's just constantly been pressuring Zig in this lane and is up a couple of CS.
Yeah, and it's so interesting how EnVy are playing this game, because they're constantly shoving most of their lanes. Bottom, mid, and top are all playing forward. And then those hawk shots from Apollo, we've already seen 2 of them land on Inori and show his position, and they've been trying to keep track of him all game long so they can be aggressive in their lanes.
Well, Zig actually going to chase a little further. Hakuho and LirA going to force the face check. Good arrow there landing onto Shady. Used the squishy one. Nice little spear there from LirA, but doesn't want to commit further. Everyone going to try and engage on the area, though. Now Hakuho getting rooted up. Could be a big turnaround. Ryu needs to line up the ulti, but can't get the angle. And Pirean just roams his way down, make sure to keep them off. And Seraph did ulti down as well, just to make sure P1 didn't pick a fight.
Yeah, P1 looked like they were getting in position for Arrow to land an ultimate. It's down now, but missed it. Didn't end up having the team fight that they wanted, because Ryu has that shockwave. You're looking for that wombo combo from them. Reason that Zig couldn't really follow, didn't have TP for a few more seconds. It's coming up just now.
So blue buff also went over to EnVy, I believe. I think LirA might have stole it. No, he doesn't. Isn't wearing it, so somebody picked it up. Who is it? It's Ryu. Off to the right recipient.
And then you can see on the top side, Zig, because he was alone, went in, warded the jungle there, can see the blue buff.
Maybe now it's P1's turn to take away some buffs. LirA has been pretty pesky. Those 3 pushing lanes have really enabled him to be in the enemy jungler's face and try and take away camps. You can see that manifesting in a pretty decent CS lead there for LirA, although again, have to be careful when counting jungle creeps.
Yeah, and we're also, I'm loving these hawk shots from Apollo, and I shout out to the Observer for following a lot of them and showing that Inori does get revealed by these, because it's so hard to kind of place value on that Ashe hawk shot ability when you have full vision of the map for most of the game. Because when you see the jungler, the opposite side of the map totally gets to play aggressive, and you know that he won't be on that bottom side if all of his camps are down.
And I think, again, it kind of plays into that same idea that EnVy have been just constantly shoving in these lanes, keeping tabs on Inori, and then kind of letting LirA do whatever he wants. Other than that, lane's feeling very stable for EnVy. Pirean gets a blue buff donated over to him. Lane's getting shoved right now, but should be okay. P1, though, knowing there's an opening on the left side of the map, do manage to take down this Ocean Drake without a contest. One of the nice timings you can have on this side. Yeah, enemy mid laner goes to blue.
Exactly.
You know there's space on the right.
Because of the ward that Zig put on the blue, they're able to see that that's being handed off and go for that Drake. No problem there. We'll see the back come through for Inori and see what he picks up. Probably goes towards his, yeah, I wasn't going to say Moby Boots, was going to say more of the Runic Echoes here. Seems more of his style. Moby Boots is really risky, and he already has a Dark Seal, so he doesn't want to go all in on that. It's kind of interesting to watch Inori's growth as well as a player. You think back a year, he was a rookie, playing the Rengar and getting his team a few wins, and kind of getting his ego a little bit out of control at first. And Tempered in Spring, but now you see
Arrow, but an answer in. LirA actually first blood, the spear's enough to kill him, and now Arrow getting it rooted up by Hakuho, make it double perhaps. LirA looking for it again. Apollo snags the second.
Yeah, they ended up getting ganked there. No help from a TP or anything along those lines. They thought they had that, and then LirA comes up with the spear and gets the kill. The guy has farmed so well already that he had the Runic Echoes before that play and was able to come up big.
Yeah, monstrous amount of damage there is Pirean playing back right now.
And this is what you really want to see from EnVy, because you think back to the last split, it was really top half of the map on their own. They left Apollo and Hakuho kind of to their own devices, and EnVy would play more towards Ninja and Seraph with LirA, because the 3 Koreans would kind of just group up and do their own thing. Playing towards the bottom lane, exactly what you want to see as an EnVy fan, because it gives them a more diverse style, especially against P1, who are trying to play this bottom lane more aggressive.
You can see how it starts off, but LirA again, right place, right time.
Really well done by Apollo, too, to land the arrow onto Shady, because Arrow has flash, and Shady does not from the previous play. So that's 100% guaranteed if you point and click on him, and then the follow-up there, because convention would say, don't focus the support, go for the AD in a 2-on-2. Make sure that they go after the person who doesn't have flash and guaranteed kill.
Instead, unmissable Javelin from LirA picks up first fight, and then the second there for EnVy. So up 1,000 gold. The early game continues to roll off the back of that man there. Shady does not want to face check the level 9 Nidalee. 2 levels down right now, and just got himself killed. So now kind of a full takeover of this right-hand side for EnVy. And again, lane's still stable in this top half. Both Shen and Taaliyah are pretty straightforward lanes. You can kind of sit and farm safely in most matchups. And Seraph and Pirean have been doing a good job shoving when they need to, but playing safe when they kind of have to as well.
Ooh, seeing the back as well from Inori. Talking about playing safe. EnVy can go ahead and play a little bit aggressive here. Pirean can play up. You can see top side. Seraph will go ahead and try to freeze the wave a little bit here because Zig is going to walk out of the lane.
Ryu is also playing a bit more aggressive in that mid lane, so Pirean respecting some of the damage. Again, if they don't know where Inori or Zig is, he's actually another great room to that mid lane. Pirean does want to be careful despite how defensive his summoner spells are, but looks like they're just going to farm it out. Ryu does have a slight CS lead right now, but Pirean reverses that wave, gets that pushing down. Looks like Morello is going to be finished now for Ryu, and we'll see if it is Banshee's first to Pirean. Had a lot of gold to go and spend, and you're right, Banshee's first is really intriguing to me. Yeah,
it does have 10% CDR on it, it does have AP, and it does have the magic resistance. And it's a relatively cheap item on this patch on 710 before it gets kind of buffed in MR, but the price goes up as well. So gets it early, buys a second Doran's as well for the sustain. So he's just looking for survivability, just trying to survive against Ryu, which, I mean, I don't blame him for. Pirean struggled in lane against Keen the other day, kind of got destroyed in 2 of those games, and then the one that he actually won, it was mostly he was giving up his farm to go ahead and go to the side lanes.
Yeah, it feels like it might help against Inori as well, and you can see some of that attention being paid to the mid lane.
It's a really good point. It means the cocoon can't come through for the engage, so it really kind of throws a damper on Elise, who has to hit you with a W first.
Yeah, Reneketko's going to help Inori out there, though, so kind of an interesting little trade between some interactions. Regardless, Pirean eventually will pick up Morello, and we'll see what Ryu wants to do with his second item. So both mid laners should arrive at a pretty similar spot once they do have their second item, but Ryu feeling a little more strength right now. Pirean says, I don't mind, I'm just going to perma-shove these waves anyway. And Shady also, no trouble this time. Great little spot there for LirA just to make sure he clears out all the plants. Going to eat some honey fruit, try and watch the ultimate from Arrow, but good flash there from LirA. Gets out from under the chain.
Hey, that was super aggressive from Arrow as well, going over with the Blast Cone as the AD carry and trying to hit LirA with the Chain of Corruption. Does get the flash out of him, but we'll see what that amounts to later. All flashes up for P1 at the moment, and Infernal Drake in 1 minute and 30. So LirA won't have his flash for that objective.
I think it's a good thing to point out in general, though, for P1. This game, they definitely got caught being too aggressive in the 2v2 with LirA coming for the counter gank effectively. But it does feel like, yeah, something has happened in this lane where they're like, yeah, we just want to play a bit more aggressive.
Yeah, I know for a fact, like, there were a whole bunch of questions about, you know, why Shady over stunt, etc., but people can't really see, you know, the tryouts or the solo queue that they were doing. And when I talked to Shady, he's like, yeah, I played legitimately like 5 games with Arrow in solo queue, and he's like, oh, this guy's really good. And then they brought him in, you can see right here, aggressive.
Hakuho again going to try and turn it around, but Apollo now frontlining after using an arrow, no flash and no heal, used it already to save his support. But P1 not there in time. Zig actually canceled the TP, so no follow-up on that engage.
Yeah, just like we were saying, a little bit more aggression from this bottom lane here of Arrow and Shady. Trying to be a little more, bit more for the lane. And the next kind of step for Shady in his growth is you would want to see him roam a little bit more towards possibly mid, controlling the vision there as well. We'll see here because Inori's on the backside of Pirean, trying to go for a kill.
Flash in, but Inori a little too far forward. Pirean's going to keep firing volleys in, clear this wave at ASAP. Hold on to the heal as well, so Pirean's still feeling pretty safe.
Yeah, if you went for a dive there, Seraph does have the stand united, and you have to just keep that in the back of your head. That you can't really just kill that person right off the bat like that.
Well, now 4-man dive, maybe coming to the bottom lane, actually. Hakuho joining back in, but Inori already here, waiting for Ryu. Great hawk shot from Apollo. But what's the reaction for EnVy?
Would have to
stay. Apollo, the only QSS. There's the stand united, but the root lands as well.
Get interrupted.
Wave already cleared. Good interrupt there from Zig, but the shield might be enough to save them at least on this wave. Pirean roaming down as well, just walks through, and now going to spot Ryu. Ryu, little too far forward, forced to flash away.
Yeah, we had LirA clearing the mid wave, and so that allows Pirean to walk up through the bottom side, and now LirA's going to come for a flank, and this will be most likely a back off from P1 here. Seraph has a TP, Zig doesn't have a way to answer, so if Seraph gets out of vision...
LirA! Huge javelin almost landing onto Arrow, but doesn't connect. And EnVy, great defense actually, spotting that play and then making all the right moves.
It's actually super good defense because they get the minion wave in mid, and you can see that just amounts to a little bit more gold for them that starts pulling them a bit ahead because they're farming top wave, they're farming mid wave, and Ryu has missed out on 2 to 3 waves now because of that roam.
And again, great to see kind of EnVy kind of using all the tools of their comp. No one stresses out, no one worries, because they've got Seraph, they've got Pirean, everyone can kind of get quickly down to whatever lane they need to. They react, don't overstep their boundaries, and then P1 walk away with nothing after committing everyone.
Exactly. Only thing here is the Infernal Drake is something that a team maybe could have made a move for on the way out, whether it was Immortals or it was Envy. Or sorry, P1 or Envy.
Pirean actually instead just shoves the wave, goes back. Got a Lost Chapter and some Sork shoes now, so feeling pretty powerful. LirA going Lichbane second by the looks of things after those Merc Treads and Runic, so he's also going for some big mid-game damage.
It's really funny because when we reworked Runic Echoes from Runeglaive, I was like, oh yeah, if you buy Lichbane now, because Runeglaive built out of Sheen, you have way more movement speed with these two items. You have way more burst up front that's early instead of buying like Runic Echoes, or sorry, Runeglaive and Ludens. It's like this would be a really good combination. I'm excited to see what LirA does with it because, oh boy, it's going to be a lot of damage coming through from that Nidalee with the Q because that'll do so much with the Lichbane behind it.
Still a lot of good targets, I feel like, as well. Zig, not a great one, although he's not too tanky at the moment. We'll be getting there and already has a lot of health stacked up. But Inori, Ryu, Arrow, and Shady are all good people to Javelin.
Exactly. If you land a Javelin and then you just transform and you go in Cougar form and get the pounce, get the Q, the takedown, pretty much decimate a squishy.
It looks like the Infernal Drake you mentioned earlier is going to be the next target for both teams. They've reset the map. Great vision for Envy right now, looking to set up a play here on the bottom side of the map. Apollo did go for the early QSS, delayed his blade, but now has the Ruin King finished. And LirA's just trying to clear out this Stutter Crab. Control Ward kind of clearing out a lot of vision, denying that ward for P1 that's just still in range.
Yeah, and talking about these item builds, the QSS from Apollo second to make sure that he just doesn't get locked up or caught by any chains of corruption is actually quite clever because if you're thinking about how you play this bottom lane, how are you going to lose these fights? I mean, you're already ahead as Apollo. He's at the 10 CS per minute mark. He's doing wonderfully this game, but it's coming down to if you get caught, and that's how P1 has been playing the bottom lane, is constantly throwing out the chains of corruption, trying to catch Apollo or Hakuho, and this will just put a little bit of a damper on that.
Unfortunately for Envy, they do start up the Drake, but don't have everything in position just yet. I think maybe Pirean was looking for a wall off there, but instead P1 moved them off the Drake, get their own vision set up in the area, and we'll have to reset the situation.
And that'll come from pushing the lanes. You can see bottom lane pushes out, Arrow and Shady have to go answer. They'll go clear these wards with Hakuho and the whole team grouping up here. That's what pushing the waves gets you.
They're already back, Ryu. Ooh, Hakuho, yep. Doesn't want to take any chances with shockwave radiuses. Oh, great chain, but the QSS for Apollo. Now standing out, it could start a fight, actually. Arrow does get stunned up by Apollo, and there's a great taunt for Seraph. That should be enough, and it is. Apollo gets it. Zig dives in onto Hakuho.
Looking for the shockwave
down, but he does get the kill. LirA has joined in, and Pirean has roamed down as well, but they're already a little low on the front line for Envy. Ryu, though, already committed shockwave, so he goes down to LirA. LirA just doing so much work in that front side, and Envy come out ahead.
Yeah, Envy will get this Infernal Drake too. 2 for 0 there, or 2 for 1 there, with Hakuho going down, and that gets them that Infernal Drake on top of it. That is just a clean play. Envy early game online again.
And what another great reactive play from Envy, saying, this is what we want to set up, we'll try something. But Arrow goes aggressive, and Envy have so many tools to turn around a fight or just start one instantly, but this is the turnaround they make.
Yeah. Talked about the QSS for Apollo. How do you lose this? You get stunned, you get caught. Arrow sticking around. He has flash still, doesn't walk away and try to flash the wall as Seraph comes through. And that shockwave on top gets a little bit back there in terms of damage onto Pirean and Seraph, but Apollo and LirA still pushing up, pushing forward, and they get Ryu there. This game has been turned on its head. The early game of Envy has been so good off of the back of LirA, but you now see CS advantages from Apollo in the bottom lane off of that early 2-man kill, and then also in the mid lane now because of the roams. But look at this Hakuho.
My goodness! Ooh, Hakuho disappears. Not a magic trick he wants to repeat. Zig and Inori teaming up for that combo. And you can see the pick potential with these two. Arrow, though, landing in. They're going to try and turn it back around. Merctred's helping out Zig, but LirA needs to kind of land in some damage as Inori gets out from under that spear. LirA still playing up and aggressive. Level 13
right now. You do not want to fight LirA. If you're Inori, you're just backing off going, oh my god, I hate that Nidalee is back in the meta or whatever this is. This is scary because LirA, highest gold in the entire game, and he's, what is this, 1,600 gold up over Inori.
Lichbane's also completed, so champions and turrets alike will start melting.
It's even worse, because like Inori has 1,900 gold he hasn't spent, so there's easily like a 3,000 gold difference between these two guys if they had fought there.
All right, well, looks like first turret actually going to go over to P1, so Envy slipping a little on that front. Good block plus the arrow, but Pirean now roaming down with the wall to try and take him down. Seraph just needs to line up the top, but Pirean should be able to get it anyway.
Yeah, the turret does go over, though, to Phoenix1, and that'll be some extra gold for Arrow, but Arrow 0-3-1. He pushed up there trying to just take advantage of the situation. That was the top side of the map. They got that pick on Hakuho. The bottom lane of Envy tried to rotate up for a little bit of a throw him for a loop and get that top turret, but it backfires with Hakuho getting caught out.
You can see Pirean also shoving back mid. Apollo was sitting top again, making this trade to try and pressure another turret. Realizing they weren't getting too much work done elsewhere, Apollo is going to stick around for a little while longer. But again, not too safe. You can face check the Elise with the Jarvan ulti up and ready. So Hakuho going to get some more vision down, play a little safer now. Making sure he doesn't run into anything too crazy. And EnVy are going to start trying to shove down some turrets and continue to grow this gold lead.
A lot of that'll be LirA and Pirean, as well as Apollo with that arrow. I feel like Apollo has been having a great game off of the back of the bottom lane fight that LirA showed up to. This could be one of those performances that we were asking about, like when is Apollo going to have those big carry moments? Might be having one in this game.
Yeah, one of the nice things here, just because the EnVy have so many good tools to do what they want to do, they're just opening up the map and then whatever they find, like this flash from Shady, that was free.
You got to watch out though for mid-game P1 with the team fighting. If you get caught out, EnVy's composition is pretty squishy, save for Seraph. And that's really what the Shockwave will look for, is those big decimating fights. And you do have to keep that in the back of your head.
Answering turret over. Between threatens, but Ryu zoning LirA out of the way.
Interesting that Inori's build is Dead Man's Plate after Merc Treads. So he's trying to go for a mix of magic resistance and also armor, but most of this team is magic damage. Shen will do percent HP magic damage, LirA does magic, Pirean does magic, Hakuho does magic. Really only Apollo.
Oh, another great arrow to Shady. His stand United to finish the fight. LirA with a snipe takes one down, and there's a flash on. Arrow does QSS off, but still trying to chase in Ryu. Needs to get the shockwave to the backline, but Pirean zoning them off. A great wall cuts off the rest of Phoenix1. Shockwave hits nothing, and Pirean takes down Ryu. Now Inori, the next target is EnVy, just chasing into their red side jungle. Zig tries to all in LirA, but the heals are too much. Zig, good amount of damage. LirA gets out with the shield from Hakuho and gets himself a kill.
That's a 3-for-0 in favor of EnVy. They'll be able to push the top wave and the mid. Pirean just dumpstered Ryu. He went off to the side of Ryu, panicked.
And another great shove. Arrow getting chunked out. As Pirean's going to look to take this mid lane turret as well. All of a sudden, EnVy going to open up a monumental lead as they knock down some turrets.
Looking for this one here. Minions not going to be able to do the job just yet. It is so close to going down. 34 HP. You'll be able to walk up and auto that one time. But that fight, that was all over the place. And I was talking about P1, you got to watch out for their team fighting, but EnVy really just outplay this. This is so good. The Hawk shot again reveals them coming across, hits the person who doesn't have QSS, so Shady is off the board immediately, and then the taunt flash onto Arrow gets his QSS, and then this part, Pirean in the back. You can't retreat to the right now. They have to go over, and Pirean is just kiting back and forth, and Ryu dropped the ball. He tried to flash ulti onto Pirean to stop him, but he still had the ball on the ground, and he just got blown up there. That was beautifully played by the mid laner of EnVy.
Turret finally goes down. You can see only had about one auto left, so and we do get the turret in the end. Now looking to go back towards that top side of the map. Seraph actually going to join a 1v2 as the Ocean Drake coming back up means EnVy are playing back to this right-hand side with most of their members.
And man, we
talked. Oh, Ryu cut off again. Good shockwave. It's Apollo, but damage might still be there. Pirean still laying it in, and Ryu goes down. Pirean on fire.
10 points to Pirean. 3-0-1 on this Taaliyah. Up in CS when he was down at the start, and he has been doing work with these walls. The Weaver's walls yesterday were coming out few and far between. These ones constantly on cooldown, throwing them out. He's now 2 levels up over Ryu.
And level 16, so max range wall. I think Ryu got sniped from a very long distance there.
Yeah. Apollo is also 2 levels up over his lane opponent. And when you think about these matchups, you go, okay, EnVy, you know, they're up against P1. P1 have these great carries in Ryu and Arrow, and it was the rest of them, Zig, Inori, and Shady, that had kind of fallen short. And you're like, you need to get up with the rest of these guys, these Korean laners. But Ryu and Arrow are the ones who are faltering in this match.
Just a nuts amount of strength right now for EnVy. I mean, that's 6,000 gold ahead pretty much as the Drake gets taken away by LirA. But we even talked about, you know, the Banshees being very safe for Pirean. That last little exchange for Ryu, Sorks, Haunting Eyes, and Morello all finished. That's like every mid lane mage dream right now.
Yeah, just waiting to blow people up. Didn't go for Merc Treads himself. He doesn't even really care about the CC here. He's just trying to do as much damage as possible. Wonder if it's a Void Staff next for him as well.
Gonna finish Leandries and then maybe Void Staff next.
That's the point, Leandries. Yeah. You keep forgetting that the blasting wand goes into that. Most people,
yeah,
it's like the only time that I remember that is when it's the first item rumble, and he's got the blasting wand and the haunting guys.
Well, we'll see what happens in the next few minutes, but Hurricane finish for Apollo. He's looking good. Love the Aegis actually from Seraph. Nice and early. Should be building a locket at some point soon. And LirA also now with a Banshee's Veil, so a bit of safety, but a lot of extra damage that he didn't have on the item earlier, so he can play up and aggressive also.
Yeah, it'll be interesting because Hakuho, he's gone for the redemption. Might be the Ardent Sensor coming in next.
It's a good one.
It's a good one. There's some people on his team that'll benefit from it, but if he's really just going for like the defensiveness of like helping Apollo out, then it's a pretty good buy.
Pirean again, clearing waves away, sweeps away that ward.
LirA, Banshee's Veil for him too. This item becomes incredibly annoying on people who are fed and already are very mobile. So you have to hit them with the spell first, then you get to aim your skill shot afterwards, and if they can dodge it, then it's so difficult.
Yep.
Now Shady can't really just go for an E and lock him up. Ryu can't go for a shockwave without a spell to kind of prep it. And even Inori can't go for a bush cocoon.
Yeah, hypermobile champion like Nidalee, LirA, who does love to play up in the face of his opponents. Should be getting a lot of mileage out of that one. Apollo, though, accompanying the wave in towards this top side. That'll be the outer ring now felled as EnVy take their third turret of the game. Goldie continuing to grow. They did get that Drake a number of minutes ago now, so this kind of protracted siege with Shen towards the bottom, that 4-1, all 1-3-1, whatever EnVy do want to do. They've got all the tools and such a strong lead in this mid-game to just take over.
Yeah, speaking of taking over, LirA just ended up getting that Raptor there. And this is just looking like a bit of a disaster here for Phoenix1. It's been that slow bleed. Damage.
Back. Oh, what a shot! Pirean takes down Orianna.
Oh, goodness. The scoreline is just almost inverse here. 4-0-1 for Pirean, 0-4 and 1 for Ryu.
And again, EnVy just so many tools to do whatever they need to do. They can move around the map, they can find picks, they can even teamfight if they set up around appropriate terrain. Yes, you do not want to run headfirst 5v5 into P1, but the way EnVy are just manipulating so many different situations and reacting well as a team is the most impressive part of this game in this draft for me.
Exactly. LirA had that early game jungler, made some moves bottom, and then they were able to have a good macro play that actually denied Ryu waves enough that Pirean went ahead of him in CS during that mid game. And like you said, they're now utilizing Pirean instead of this assassin mid champion pool that they had with Ninja, and using the control mage to wave clear, have a good chance of even stalling out the game if it were behind, but they're ahead, so they can push the issue now.
Easy. Seraph now finished that locket, so maybe even the team fights are looking not too difficult given the gold lead that EnVy have. I mean, don't want to face check a big shockwave from Ryu. He's certainly got a lot of damage.
And I really like that they're doing that. I talked about when Apollo purchased the QSS, that how do you lose this game? Well, if you get caught as Apollo, then that's a big way to lose with one of the chain of corruptions, etc. How do you lose the game now? Shockwave? Locket's going to help you absorb a lot of that damage, especially with the state that Ryu is in right now, being 0-4.
Also, I mean, EnVy just prepared here. Everyone's loaded up with control wards. We've almost got the full upgrade for the Mortal Reminder. Oh, no, sorry, Lord Dominic's regards, finished by Apollo. So everyone's just stacking up towards 2-3 items. In fact, 3 now finished for Pirean also. And it looks like LirA's building a Hourglass, so even more aggression can come out for him. Took down the bottom tier 2. Seraph is actually continuing to shove waves over there because there's no Drake to play for just yet. And we're trying to get control of the Baron side.
And this is just such an awkward place to be in for Phoenix1. Ryu, pretty close to getting his Void Staff. You really want that third item for the Baron fight so you can actually just blow people up with the Shockwave. That's really that big power point for you. But, oh, the Ghost and the Flash down there from Ryu.
Good bit of value there for Apollo. Throws that 1 arrow, gets 2 summoners off of the mid laner of Phoenix1. LirA taking damage with shields and redemption there. And be able to quickly reset that one. Inori smites away his big Raptor, but EnVy is going to start sieging mid lane instead. And
this becomes so interesting because even though Jarvan's off on the side, Zig would have to use an EQ Cataclysm combo to get flashes in the first place because EnVy have all of their summoner spells, sans for Apollo's heal. That's it.
And again, Seraph is constantly putting pressure in. They've got top wave now reversing for them, but we're just up there shoving that away. I think Arrow's going to go meet that wave and get some extra farm for himself. Have the Drake to play for in 50 seconds time. EnVy continuing to have a stranglehold on almost every objective. P1 have the lone Ocean Drake they picked up in the very early minutes of the game.
Oh, looking for Arrow on the top side. Here's Pirean's wall. Arrow does have flash.
Detonated in. Arrow does get the ultimate down. Now TP's coming out for P1. Shady already here, so Everyone for P1 here early. Zig going to get taunted as he moves in for Seraph, and the rest of MV are roaming up. Good damage already onto the Jarvan. He's just not that tanky, and he didn't pop his stone plate already. So forcing flashes away. NV again react well.
And that was a 3v4/5 for Phoenix1. NV had to wait for Apollo to get up there, as well as another member to rotate. It just took them so long, but they stalled beautifully.
Again, a great bait almost by NV, knowing that Arrow is the one up there for the wave, so tried to cut him off. P1 though were ready to react, but NV just a little too far ahead at this point to really have any semblance of a fair fight. I mean, there are 8,000 gold ahead and counting, and NV still have a lot of turrets to take off the map.
Yeah, and their carries are just so far behind. Both Arrow and Ryu are 2 levels down, and they don't have a whole lot of items to their name. It's going to be really rough for Phoenix1 in these fights, but NV on the other side, these skirmishes will most likely go their way with the score lines that they have. The only person who's died on their team is Hakuho twice. And that's it. Everybody else has been sitting pretty and having a really good game with pretty much CS advantages across the board that are pretty disgusting. There's 50 mid, there's 40 in the bottom lane, in that jungle, 60.
And it's just patience now that NV need. Pirean poking people off, kind of getting shoves, poking people around. Seraph busy with a bottom inhibitor turret.
Well, what are you going to do? Are you going to answer him with the Jarvan while they're baiting the Baron? Because Seraph has teleport, Zig doesn't. Stopping all the backs, too.
And now a catch. Great wall again from Pirean. Knocks Ryu back in. He does get the shockwave onto 2. The root lands in onto Pirean. Pirean, he's going to look to go down. Oh, he lived! Flashes back into the redemption as Apollo flashes out to the safety of his teammates as well. Arrow barely misses getting sniped by LirA as Zig tries to look for the re-engage. Gets Apollo, dunks him down, and we were going to kill for his team, but Zig is going to fall in the collateral. Now Inori in the front side as Pirean rejoins the fight.
Arrow got
forces
hit.
them out. Arrow QSS is off early, but he can't take any more damage.
QSS? Okay.
I don't know what he QSS, but he was afraid.
That's the panic button. That's where he doesn't get rid of the status effect of the Nidalee hunt, but I mean, he's just trying, I guess. 0-5 though for Ryu. Outplayed there pretty hard by NV. That's really what this has been coming down to, is the teamwork of NV in these fights has just been slightly better than P1's. And it's been showing and making all the difference here.
And I mean, these, again, you talked about P1's carries being behind NV's carries. I mean, let's exclude LirA for just a second, because he's very far ahead, and that just happens. That's a LirA
How are you gonna exclude my boy?
That's a LirA
Don't leave LirA out of this.
I always expect him to be ahead. But Pirean's got 4 items building a Void Staff. Apollo, 3.5 moving on to his next one. So we're going to watch this team fight again.
Yeah, great wall again. And then Apollo still hits the arrow on Zig. Zig goes over, but Ryu is just sitting there, doesn't have his flash, tries to counter, but then barely. This is so good. Pirean gets the kill and gets the redemption and saves him. Ugh. Zig tries to go back in, gets Apollo here, and then it's Arrow hitting over the wall and Inori going in to try and get some damage, but LirA jumps out of the Cataclysm and then Inori just flashes away. They don't really have the damage to even kill Seraph right now.
And now back on a Baron. NV continuing to apply pressure. Apollo caught out though, he gets stunned. Oh, barely. Just goes down there to Zig, but Zig actually going to go down as well. So a 4v4 starts, but NV do not have their bot lane up.
Yeah, that was exactly what you wanted though. Arrow's going to go.
Got enough carries, gets taunted, QSS off for Arrow, but the Spirit's Refuge blocking a lot of damage as Seraph tanks all of that frontline damage.
Yeah, they had gotten Apollo's flash earlier, and so he was the target of Zig going into Cataclysm and then Shockwave right on top. That's how they blew him up during that replay, and then the fight just trails off, and you end up having Arrow try to get that Banshee's Veil, and then the Chain of Corruption.
Can't overcommit to a fight versus NV even when Apollo is down. They've got so many good zoning tools between Ashe and now the Rylai's up Taaliyah. NV again, no, they've got full control of the map. P1 doing a good job finding gold and killing off some members to buy time, but third Drake over to NV, they'll take down the Cloud, and Seraph is still threatening that bot in here.
Yeah, Seraph now with a Knight's Vow as well. But Apollo, this is one of his weaknesses that we've noticed in the last few games, is he will split push and pick up solo farm. It gets him ahead in levels, but at the same time, it makes him very exploitable. It's one of the ways that Dignitas got back in a game against NV the other day, is he was off in a side lane and they Tom Kench ulted him and just went up and killed him. Pirean though, rode another wall.
Looking to make a 1v3 show. Arrow gonna get stunned insta, and that should be a kill over. Now Pirean dominating. Just takes down Arrow, who just didn't have any cooldowns left.
He used heal though. He threw out his heal. It's completely futile at that point. Like, I don't know why he's doing that.
Frustrated, it feels like, you know?
Yeah.
He hit the panic QSS button. I mean, he's getting picked on 4 deaths already for Arrow after that roam up for Pirean. P1 are trying to group together and get something done, but they just keep getting picked off. NV just too far ahead and picking advantageous positions constantly, which their comp allows them to do. And this gold lead means that P1, despite their team fighting, isn't doing very much right now.
Void Staff is completed for Ryu, and they can kind of take some, comfort in that. But at the same time, like you said, it's just so far ahead. Envy now get to run them around the map, and P1, they're flailing. You see it in their play with Arrow's heal, his QSS. Envy have them on the ropes.
And Envy's undone. That's the thing you really have to worry about. I mean, the game is getting later. P1 will pick up some gold, but Envy are almost pretty much 10,000 gold ahead with a bunch more turrets to take and a Baron still to pick up. Like, Envy needs to move into a spot where they can end the game, but they have such a big advantage with which to try and do so, as Ryu, right side of the wall that time, does not get cut off by Pirean.
Pirean is doing a great job with these walls. I was hesitant yesterday because he kept using them every now and then. This is like on cooldown. The wall just keeps coming out to try and get something. Right here, though, because he doesn't have the wall, P1 can actually occupy this space and try to contest. Arrow,
Arrow's going again, but a nice QSS off. And Arrow, to his credit, has done a great job dodging, particularly javelins from LirA, because he's barely been hit by any, and he knows if he gets hit, he's probably dying, even just solo to the Nidalee.
Yeah, pretty much everybody on Envy is firing on all cylinders right now. The hawk shots from Apollo during the early game, his arrows are landing pretty much every single fight, and Pirean's walls, as well as LirA's early game, have all been fantastic.
All right, well, here's a big commit. Envy on the Baron, but just going to force, I think, the TP out of Zig. He does commit it, and now Seraph can walk back towards the sideline if he wants. His ulti's up. He's got his teleport up soon. You can see the blue pings under that bottom inhib.
He's got double globals. This mid turret's going to go down here off these minions.
Yep.
Just barely.
Arrow not quite there to save it despite the static shift for a bit of additional wave clear. LirA, they took the shockwave. That's a bad look. LirA needs to leave the jungle smite. Very important. Great ultimate there from Arrow, but LirA needs to try and live through. Stand United committed. Redemption also down, and LirA had to burn the flash.
LirA literally just got 3 ultimates out of P1. A lot of team fighting there. The Chain of Corruption, the Grasping Roots, the Stranglethorn, and also the Shockwave. And he still got away.
High value zone is there, I think, for LirA, and the teammates there as well, just to make sure. Now Mikhail's for Hakuho in case it happens again.
Yeah. Zig also didn't flag and drag over the wall. He E'd, but didn't connect his Q to it, and he was trying to get a knock-up or possibly go for Cataclysm afterwards. Shady will do some damage in the pit, but this is going down pretty quickly.
Yeah, hard committing it.
Inori?
Things. They don't have a control of their Arrow. It's another little stun, and now Pirean's going to knock Zig back into the team. Envy, I think, trying to stay on Baron for a little while, but they need to secure this. This is so dangerous. Inori can steal it.
When it hits 1,500, you got to go up and you got to go in.
Inori's waiting. Seraph's trying
to go in now.
Goes for it, but doesn't get it. LirA with the smite. There's the taunt in onto Inori, and he's going to be left for dead. Repels up, and he's got nowhere to go. A great 3-man root, but Inori, no flash, can't get back in. LirA now unstoppable.
Yeah, it hit 1,500, and that's when it looked like it's going to get burst down, and Inori actually threw out his smite about 200 HP early, and it allowed LirA to get it.
Well, 50-50 for Envy is not the way you'd want to approach that objective given your lead, but they do manage to get the Baron, and now this game is close to untenable for P1. Envy should have everything they need to end this one.
And this is just an early game from Envy. That wasn't even a fantastic early game. It was just 2 kills right off the bat that gave a very good advantage to the bottom lane, but then a mid-game team fight and some rotations that allowed them to take it. And really, Pirean on this Taaliyah seems to be an issue for teams to play against. It got banned after he played it yesterday. We'll see if that starts, jumping up on the ban list here for Phoenix1 come next game.
Well, again, Envy, such an aggressive start to this Baron as Arrow. I think hilariously, it's another ulti from Ashe.
He still has QSS. He doesn't use it there because there's no panic, so he's still got, some calm to him. But this right here, they stop DPS, Weaver's wall goes out, and then he sees it get dropped right there, and that's when he flashes in and tries to go for it.
Yeah, I mean, that's what you have to do, I think, for both sides there. Envy, you can argue, again, didn't need to do that. Didn't even have a control word to be like, you're blind, guess. So P1 had all the information they needed, but LirA just a little better on the smite there, and Inori not quite with the timing.
Yeah, his smite does 900 damage. LirA's does 1,000 at this point in the game, but you can do about 1,300 as Elise with a Q, and so that's what they were really playing around, is he did that combo, but then LirA just like, oh, okay, I'll just smite it at 200 after, that's fine.
Yeah. Well, no steal forthcoming, and Envy do knock down the bottom inhib that was prepared many, many moons ago by Seraph, who's still back in the sideline, going to get that last tier 2 turret shoved out and taken down. Shen with Baron buffs, pretty efficient despite being almost full tank with this build, and Zig, yeah, not really able to challenge right now.
Yeah. Whee! All right, doesn't hit anybody, so that's a missed one. But LirA caught out. Oh, wait a second.
Another Zombies Redemption back down. I've seen this trick before, but a good snipe from Arrow. He's going to kill him after the stasis. Zigto caught in his own Cataclysm, forced to march up, and so grabs the taunt, finds Ryu, and then the great shot back. Pirean godlike as he just melts little Ryu. And now EnVy going to win that fight despite losing LirA.
They jumped in on Pirean, who still has flash. He's actually a bit tanky with MR and 2 HP items. He was not going down that fast to basically a tank Jarvan, and Ryu didn't get his shockwave off as he was repositioning the ball and just got destroyed. And EnVy are going to try to end it. Yeah, going to look to end it. That's going to be a kill. Seraph on a killing spree as that's a flash from Shady. He goes down. Apollo completes the ace, and EnVy going to knock down the Nexus turrets and take game 1. Clean game from EnVy. They only give up 5 kills. And right there, 7-0-5 for the mid laner, the new mid laner of EnVy.
And again, we talked about a little more consistency from EnVy Pirean on more of the meta champs, but his Taaliyah has shown up multiple games now, and I have to think that is going to see a bit more attention in the ban column. But again, a great team game there for EnVy. A lot of things we expected were true. LirA, with an aggressive jungler, was able to open up the map and really get things going. Safe, consistent bottom lane with early roams from Hakuho, and another safe laner coming out also in the mid lane for Pirean. I think the difference for me, honestly, is that Shen. Seraph playing more of a tank instead of one of those big lane bullies or carry champions.
Yeah, he played it the other day, and I think that Shen, Gragas, and even Galio, I wouldn't consider them like full tanks, like, you know, in the olden days, it was like, oh, this guy does nothing to you. It's kind of like that old Nautilus where it's like, this guy could possibly kill you in lane because his base damages are so high. We saw the Shen and the Jarvan trading back and forth constantly, and I think that this is a champion that really works for Seraph, because even back in the days of Challenger, Seraph won games off of teleport flanks and off of having good global presence, because he loves to split push, and if he has a global, he has permission to do that more. It's one of his strengths, and he's ended games by himself in a 4-1 split push. Now he gets to have those team fights with Shen.
Yep, we're going to break down the game here, though. So we'll have a look at EnVy's first little advantage that they got. LirA again, starting things off. We'll have a look at first blood in the bottom lane. I mean, you can see what Shady and Arrow are trying to do, but LirA just such great timing.
Well, LirA's there at the right time, and it's interesting that they don't suspect that he would be there, but it's just a great arrow from Apollo on the flashless support there of Shady. And so I think that that was really the big thing in that fight, was that they went after Shady first instead of going after Arrow, and then Arrow was pretty much dead to rights because there's the collapse. So I definitely think that that was well played by EnVy, and really kind of questionable from P1 to be that aggressive and to go for that engage when they didn't have vision and full knowledge.
Yeah, it was quite a lot of aggression from the bottom. We'll look at EnVy came together as a team. LirA, as always, getting things together. But our next replay, this is just such a great collapse for EnVy, using all their tools to turn this team fight around.
Yeah, the QSS from Apollo, then the arrow onto Arrow, who stuns him so he can't even flash away. He had flash, but wasn't expecting that point blank there, and wasn't able to outplay Seraph from that point onward. The shockwave does come through and they get Hakuho, but then just Apollo walking up, being a frontline. I like to see this from this guy because we weren't seeing that too much from him. And he was always the backliner, playing the Caitlyn, playing the Ashe, letting his team do a lot of the work, but being on that front line there, even when 4 members are still alive of the enemy team, and picking up the kills, exactly what you want to see from Apollo moving forward.
Yeah, we'll see our final replay here. Kind of a big old team fight for EnVy. See how it all came together. This was such a great fight.
Yeah, another hawk shot goes through. They see Shady, boom, hits him with an arrow, flashless Shady again, and then he gets picked up and blown up. Arrow gets taunted with the QSS, but this is just great global presence from Apollo with the hawk shot, and then Pirean with the wall that forces Ryu to panic and go after him. Even if he lands that shockwave, I don't even think you turn that around. I think you're still dead at that point, because Inori is on the run, and he's the only person who could possibly help him at that point.
Yeah, I liked at the end, by the way, Pirean did actually respectfully flash out of the shockwave that he thought was coming. Didn't need to, but he was like, hey, I think he's going to get this right.
Yeah.
Ryu usually does, but that time he actually just messes up and gets a summon that he didn't actually need to get.
I mean, it's better safe than sorry.
Of course.
If you're flashing off of the reaction of his flash, then you're probably actually doing it right, because what's going to happen then? He flashes, and then he has the time to pull the ball and then shockwave. He'd have to react fast enough.
Yeah, Pirean just making sure everything is safe. And again, that all came together. I mean, you talked about the five-man team fight there for Phoenix1. It's been so funny since almost the dawn of League of Legends. The counter to teamfight comes to split them up. And that usually means literally get in other lanes and force people to come to you with something like a Shen, with split push. EnVy displayed not only that, but also the literal meaning, where you split them up with actual team fighting with a champion like Taaliyah.
I love that. The Taaliyah was so good from Pirean, and I feel like moving forward, he shouldn't really get that champion. And this is becoming one of those ones that it circumvents a lot of Envy's issues where they approach team fights. They don't always know how to do it. They don't always know how to siege inhibitors and stuff like that. And this really just helps them astronomically. Like, oh, we want to bait Baron? Let's just put a wall right there, or let's just split them up. And they had the Ashe arrow too, which I think both these tools were used a lot to pick people at the start of fights and then have an advantageous fight in terms of numbers right after.
Yeah, I felt like a ton of fail-safes were built into the Envy comp, and they used them all very well. One thing before we go, we have to discuss the Baron take by Envy. Not the biggest fan of how they approach it. Like, the spirit of the play is good, but I mean, I feel like bot inhib's open. You've got a Shen. Yeah. I think they got a little frustrated with themselves. So, their credit, they ended the game, but that was a risk they didn't need to take.
Yeah, it's a risk they didn't necessarily need to take, but if they do give over Baron, I still feel like you kill Inori and maybe you get something else out of that. But yeah, they tried with the Ashe arrow onto arrow, only hit him. He still had QSS, and they tried to engage, but then they just went for the burst down play. So like you said, it's still a 50-50 play in terms of like the odds you would give it, and you don't want to see that when you're that far ahead, but it's still one of those issues of Envy, right? How are they going to end the game? Well, I guess we'll bait and have a team fight, and then we'll end. And that seems to be the systematic approach for them. It worked in this game. We'll see how it works moving forward.
Certainly devote this time. We're going to step away for a quick break, but when we come back, it's Game 2 between Phoenix1 and Team Envy. Stay with us. You're watching the North American LCS.
Ooh. Peppered and spring with ADC.
Arrow, but an answer in. LirA actually first blood that's fifth enough to kill him. And now Arrow getting it rooted up by Hakuho. Make it double perhaps. LirA looking for it again. Apollo.
Jarvan. Kill Jarvan. Part 8. Watch out, worry ball. Help for me. Nice. Side. Help for me. Watch me. 3, 2. Ori die. Jarvan TP.
Man, we Ryu up again. Good shockwave, it's Apollo, but damage might still be there. Pirean still laying it in, and Ryu goes down. Pirean on fire.
Pirean, though, rode another wall.
Looking to make a 1v3 show. Arrow going to get stunned insta, and that should be a kill over. Now Pirean dominating. He's going to kill him after the stasis. Zigno caught in his own cataclysm, forced to much up, and so grabs the taunt, finds Ryu, and then the great shot back. Pirean godlike as he just melts little Ryu. And Envy going to knock down the Nexus turrets and take game 1.